Hi there, I'm Matthew Lester from the Rhodes Business School. This is a short video intervention to show you the 4 pillars of financial freedom. Whichever way one looks at investments, this is the very basics of how it all happens. So, when you leave university, the first thing that you go out and do is make sure that you are adequately insured against all the risks of living in the new South Africa. Then will come building up a savings portfolio. That's the smaller part of the problem. Then we will get on to building up an investment portfolio of wealth that you might seek to use before you are 55. And then finally we build up a retirement portfolio. That's the tax-efficient portfolio that is probably the biggest of all. But when you start off after graduation, you would be heavy to insurance requirements and probably lighter to your retirement portfolio. As you get older, you will find that we get more and more heavily involved in retirement planning. What's this got to do with your lifestyle? Let's set up your lifestyle on a timeline. So, right, we get born and we get educated. Now we start financial planning. What's the next big move? And the way I look at it is to say, actually, it's retirement, which might be up to 40 years away. Thereafter, you're going to have to look after yourself for a period of up to 25 years before you ultimately die. In between those events will come the softer events, the more romantic ones if you want. They will be starting off your family, your first toys, your first spouse, your kids, and maybe buying your first property. This will be followed by the new pressing issue of what is going to happen to your parents. Are they going to come to live with you? Because they probably will not have enough money to retire. And today a new phenomenon emerges that by the time you get to retirement, your grandchildren will be needing education and further money, and perhaps you want to provide for them as well. When one looks at investments and retirement planning, we are saying we need to look at tax-efficient investments that will provide you with funds that you might need before you're 55. Thereafter, what we're doing is saying we want a retirement plan that will look after us on a tax-efficient basis after you retire. That will probably be at 65 to 70 years old. Now, the popular image of tax-free investments comes from old days. South Africa for many years had tax-efficient savings available through the post office savings schemes. Tax-free investments became very popular when interest rates were high. So if we go back 20 years or so, we see that the South African interest rate was about 10% above the inflation rate. That was under Reserve Governor Chris Stoltz. But that's changed, and now we get the phenomenon started by Reserve Bank Governor Tito Mboweni, that interest rates were brought down to the inflation rate. And in fact, Mboweni's successor, Jill Marcus, took interest rates even below the inflation rate. That's going to prevail in South Africa for many years to come. We can't budget on it changing. Thus, money that is left in savings accounts is basically rotting away. This puts an entire new dimension of financial planning through tax-free savings accounts only. In the 2015 budget, the Minister of Finance announced a new tax-free savings product. The basic idea is that you will be able to invest your post-tax earnings in a range of investments that will be exempt from income tax on interest, exempt from dividends tax, and exempt from capital gains tax when you sell them. Everybody is going slightly bonkers over this because they think that the good old days of tax-free saving are back. What they are not realizing is that there are other exemptions in the tax system. So we have tax-free interest receipts of 23,800 Rand per annum for all taxpayers. And if you're over 65, that might be as much as 34,500 Rand. And you will get a capital gains tax-free allowance annually of 30,000 Rand. So the fact that an investment guy might give rise to taxable income doesn't necessarily result in the income being taxable. A lot of people miss this fine point. So when we look at the new tax-free savings products, we are saying there is no limitation on the number of tax-free products you can acquire, but contributions are limited to 30,000 Rand per annum or 500,000 Rand in a lifetime. Once you have acquired these investment products, you are at liberty to jump between investments without any negative tax implication, and we can go along building up a portfolio. There is no limitation on withdrawals. You can take them at any time. But future return of investments into tax-free products are subject to the same contribution limits. Let's compare this to retirement annuity funds. There's a subtle difference, and it's right at the start. When you acquire a retirement annuity fund, the investment is tax deductible. This can lead to a tax subsidy of up to 41% of the amount invested. Yes, from 2016, these contribution limits will be capped at 27.5% of taxable income, or R350,000 per annum. But few people will exceed those contribution limits. Then, once you are within the fund, you get the same tax-free status as would happen if you bought a tax-free investment. No tax on interest, no tax on dividends, and no capital gains tax. A retirement fund has a further advantage in that when you die, there is no capital gains tax on the fund, and there is no estate duty either. So that's another advantage over the tax-free investment. This gives the retirement annuity fund a slight edge over the tax-free investment. So let's run some numbers here and see how it goes. What we're saying here is let's invest R2,500 per month, and we are going to assume that the contributions are going to continue for 20 years, growing at 5% per annum, and that we will be able to achieve a return rate of 10%. The result will be R802,899 in today's terms if there is 6% inflation. And that might sound pretty good. But if you were to invest through a retirement annuity fund, we would say there's a kicker in this. We are going to get a tax saving. So on the R2,500 per month contribution, you can get as much as R1,025 back on your tax bill. If that is then reinvested and allowed to grow over the same 20 years with the same growth rates, we see that a further R329,000 of capital will be left at the end of the day. And that's certainly not to be sniffed at. So in conclusion, we've got the 4 pillars of financial freedom. And we start off after university getting insured. Savings are a smaller part in it. Investments are fine on the capital that you need in your lifetime. And your retirement fund is the biggest of all, and that's got the best tax advantage to go with it. Good luck with your efforts, and thank you for your attention.